Hi, Todd Sucherman here at Drumeo, and I've just noticed that it doesn't matter how big your career gets, how big your gig is, how big your recording session is, you're always walking through a gauntlet of things to get to the drums. It's just never easy. But this is why we do it. If this were easy, everyone would do it, right? So I'm here at Drumeo working on a new project. We're really excited about it. We feel it's going to help a lot of people. And we've been having a really good time making it as well. They've asked me to come up with 5 tips for rock drummers. And so the first one I want to talk about is mixing yourself, mixing your instrument right from here. Because if it sounds good right here, it's going to sound good if you're playing in a club, the bass player, guitarist, whatever. It's going to sound good here. Or if you're playing in an arena, it doesn't matter. If it sounds good here, it's going to sound good out there. And I want the engineer to do as little as possible to get my sound good. I don't want to play really light on the bass drum or not have a good balance, because then you're putting your sound in the hands of somebody else. So if we're playing rock music, it's going to be loud, rock music. And I want the bass drum to have the same density as the snare drum. Do, ga, do, ga, do, ga, do, ga. That sounds like a record. And a lot of younger, more inexperienced players kind of play like this. And I'm not making fun of anybody, I'm just making an observation. Or want to step into that, put a little bit of butt in there, get a little bit of swagger. And it's okay to move like this when you're playing too. If you can't dance to your drumming, it's possible that no one else can either. So, tip number 2, when playing the hi-hat, I largely play on top of the cymbal. This is just a better sound. It's a more crystalline sound. The microphone reads that easier, and it's just a more musical sound than chunking into the sides. Now, if I want to choose the chunk sound, that is a sonic option. But my home position is up here with the shank and the tip. That sounds more refined to me than... That's a sound choice. I'm not dissing it, but up here, I'm getting a nice a musical sound like a shaker. And what I'm doing here, I call it the SHANK-TIP. So I'm playing with the shank and the tip of the stick. And there's a little dip in the wrist, and it's like I'm shooting pool. It's an in and out motion, not an up and down motion. A lot of times, I'll have my students play me a 16th note groove, and they play it like this, which would just kill you in a 5-minute song. But the shank-tip motion is an in and out motion. It's like you're shooting pool, like you're cutting a steak, like you're fencing, or you're in that prison yard and you're shanking your enemy. So what my hand feels is just this. But now I'm getting 16th notes. And that sounds different than this. Certainly sounds different than this. That's if you want to sound like a drum machine, by the way, but you can't keep that up for 5 minutes. But with this, you can go all night. Okay, tip number 3. The biggest sound you're going to get out of a snare drum is with a rim shot. And the biggest sound that you can get with a rim shot is getting your rim shot further back on the stick. So maybe for a verse, I would place the tip in the center of the drum for a good solid sound. And then I would move the stick where the tip is a good inch or so north of the center of the drum, getting my rim shot further back here, and listen to the difference. So that's going to be a big sound for... All right, tip number 4 is the attitude and the intent when you're playing the drums. When you're playing rock music, you know, rock came from a place of danger and you know, disrupting the status quo and the old guard. So there's a little bit of danger or sexual connotations to rock music. So there's a little bit of that bravado behind it, if that's what the music calls for. But in basic, if I were to generalize rock drumming, it's got to have an energy, it's got to have an attitude, and it can never be like this, Is this right, guys? It's got to be like this, bang, bah, The way you hit a snare drum, the way you state the time, the definition and the sound pressure that you're putting out from the bass drum and snare drum, that will dictate the vibe. That's when you listen to Steve Jordan and like, holy smokes, it's $1 million groove, just playing. Everyone has their own personality. Everyone has their own heartbeat. You want to talk about Keith Moon, Ringo, Mitch Mitchell, John Bonham, all the way to the players of today. You could line up 100,000 drummers all playing 2 and 4, and each is going to have their own unique heartbeat. So you have to think about what your vibe is and what your intent is and where your experiences are and where you come from with the music that you're playing, and you put your heart and soul into the way you hit the drums. So when you practice this instrument, you have to teach yourself to enjoy the process of improving. You can't just try to get to the finish line. You can't race by it, because you'll never really internalize and intrinsically understand on a deep level what you're doing. So I realize that not everybody in the world has 6 hours to practice every day. Life can get in the way of art, and it often does. So if you can just eke out an hour a day, or 5 minutes, it doesn't matter. Just put these in your hands for 5 minutes. If days go by and you don't do this, your relationship pulls away. But when you play every day, you're going to have a more intimate relationship with the instrument, with these tools in your hands, with the way they respond, your control with them. And if you can eke out an hour to practice every day, you could work 10 minutes on this idea, 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 and set a timer. And every week from Monday to Monday, you're going to get better on a bunch of topics, because you just get a little piece of the idea every day. You're not going to sit down for 8 hours and become a wonderful Latin drummer or whatever, or working on a particular concept. But if it just comes into focus a little bit more every day, every day, every day, and then you'll intrinsically know it deep down inside, that's how you're going to get the most out of your practice sessions. Obviously, the more time you have, the better. And we are what we practice. What we choose to practice, that is the player that we're going to become. So the choice is really yours. What do you want to practice? What do you want to become? And then you have to figure out a way to become that. And I'm here to help you do that. Like I said at the beginning of this video, I'm here at Drumeo working on a really exciting project. I can't wait to share it with you. And if you click at the link below, you'll be able to find out more information about it.